This is the front page of Onion, chat. No way to prevent this, says Nation, where this regularly happens. No way to prevent this, says only Nation, where this regularly happens. Indianapolis, Boulder, Colorado, Atlanta, Uvalde. Look at all the articles. No way to prevent this. No way to prevent this. No way to prevent. Look at all these. Look at all these. Look at all these. Here's the Vegas shooting. NRA sets 1,000 killed in school shooting as amount it would take for them to reconsider much of anything. They wouldn't care. NRA warns banning assault weapons would infringe on Americans' constitutional right to make them all pay. NRA criticizes video game makers for downplaying portrayal of euphoric rush felt watching light leave enemies' eyes. Have you seen this tweet? I'm not defending the actions of the officer, but we've demonized law enforcement to the point that there are far fewer rewards for being a hero for taking risks. When your culture makes George Floyd the hero, real heroes stand down. Cultural rot have consequences. I can't say what I want to say, Chad. I don't want to lose my Twitter account. I'm intentionally biting my tongue. I'm editing my own views. I'm just not saying it. Supreme Court may soon loosen gun laws as nation reels from massacres. Just in case you guys want some analysis of the future, this is absolutely accurate. When the Supreme Court has been working behind closed doors on its first major Second Amendment opinion in more than a decade, 3 mass shootings have broken the country, including Tuesday's massacre of 19 school children. Closed off from public view, the justices are penning opinions and dissents in a dispute that targets one concealed carry law in New York that's more than a century old. A narrow ruling could impact only a handful of states with similar laws, but a more expansive ruling could open a new chapter in constitutional challenges to gun safety laws across the country. As a formal matter, the Supreme Court's ruling on New York's gun law doesn't call into question gun laws restricting types of weapons or sensitive places where individuals can carry guns. But a broader ruling that changes the way courts evaluate gun laws could call into question a wider array of gun regulations like assault weapons bans and other restrictions like high-capacity magazine bans. In 2008, the Supreme Court held for the first time that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to keep and bear arms at home for self-defense. Prior to 2008, chat, the last Supreme Court case on the Second Amendment was in the 30s, and it held that the Second Amendment did not apply as a personal right. So the idea of the Second Amendment as protecting your personal right to have a gun is as old as 2008. Is a teenager. After the ruling, however, to the frustration of gun rights activists, lower courts relied upon language in the opinion to uphold many gun regulations. Nothing in our opinion should be taken to cast doubt on long-standing prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools and government buildings. Except for a follow-up decision 2 years later, the justices largely stayed away from the issue, infuriating gun rights activists and even some of the justices themselves. Justice Clarence Thomas declared at one point that the Second Amendment is a disfavored right in this court. After Amy Coney Barrett took her seat, the court agreed to take up a new case, highlighting the impact of former President Donald Trump's 3 nominees on the court. New York State Rifle and Police Association versus Buren concerns a New York law governing licenses to carry concealed handguns in public for self-defense. It requires the citizens to obtain a license to carry a concealed pistol or revolver and demonstrate that proper cause exists for the permit. Residents must show that they have a great need for the license and that they face a special or unique danger to their life. At oral arguments, the conservative majority court seemed poised to strike down the New York law as going too far, although it is always dangerous to gauge the outcome of a case by what the justices say in open court. So this is what's known as a may issue versus shall issue state. In much of America, if you want a concealed weapon, you're in a shall issue state, which is you need a permit to carry it concealed, but if you do the paperwork and you go to your local police department and they don't have a reason to keep it from you, they have to give it to you. A few states like New York and New Jersey are may issue states where you can apply for a concealed weapons permit, but they only have to issue it to you. They don't have to issue it to you. They may issue it to you. Typically, you would need some sort of reason, like I don't know, you have a stalker that's threatening to kill you. All right. Or you're a celebrity with a lot of parasocial psycho fans. That is the situation. There did seem to be broad support for regulations that govern sensitive places, but the looming question will be the breadth of the decision and how it might impact other laws. For her part, liberal Justice Elena Kagan pushed Clement for his views on the definition of sensitive places. She was the first to bring up New York City subways, asking if they count as sensitive places. Noting that his clients live outside of New York City, Clement said, I suppose I could give away the subway because they are not in Manhattan. They're in Rensselaer County. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito, perhaps trying to gauge the scope of the eventual opinion, looked at the issue from the perspective of law-abiding people riding subways who want to be able to carry a gun to protect themselves. Yeah, that's great, chat. I want people just blasting each other on the subway. That's what we need, chat. That's what we fucking need. To be in an enclosed metal tube with people deciding to take the law into their own hands. Alito asked New York governor, do you own firearms? I'm well trained with firearms. Pistols, shotguns, and rifles. Including fully automatic. The court just wants to arm the hogs as early as possible for the upcoming balkanization. What do you want to know? Alito asked New York Solicitor General Barbara Underwood about people returning from work late night at Manhattan. A doorman, a nurse, somebody who washes dishes are all citizens who have to commute home by subway. Alito suggested that they may be people who are scared but who would not qualify for a license under the New York law. How is that consistent with the core right to self-defense, which is protected by the Second Amendment, he asked. Yeah, chat. I want everybody blasting each other over their wallet or their purse or their iPhone. That's a good society. That makes sense. How consistent with the core right to self-defense? Thomas brought a road atlas to oral arguments, presumably to emphasize the breadth of the law and the fact that it impacts the people living far from bustling cities. One thing to talk about Manhattan or New York University's campus, Thomas said. It's another to talk about rural upstate New York. You just can't carry your gun concealed! These fucking cowards, man. These pathetic fucking cowards, dude. Here are the gun bills that are stalled in Congress. Tuesday's massacre at a Texas elementary school in which a gunman killed 19 children and 2 adults reignited calls to pass gun control legislation that has been stalled in Congress in some cases for decades. Numerous Democrats urged the Senate to act on stalled House-passed legislation or for Congress to bring up other gun control measures. No major gun legislation has been approved by Congress in more than a decade, despite widespread calls to do so after mass shootings. 2 major control measures were passed by the House last year. The Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021 and the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2021. Both measures stalled in the Senate. After the massacre on Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer initiated a process to fast-track both bills onto the Senate's legislative calendar. That does not guarantee that either bill will receive a vote in the Senate, and Schumer on the floor Wednesday indicated that he would not immediately bring gun control bills to the floor. Enacting any bill would be tough. The evenly split 50-50 Senate requires support from at least 10 Republicans to overcome a filibuster, and Republicans have not shown support to implement new limits on the sale or ownership of firearms. This is a people problem, not a gun problem, Senator Tommy Tuberville told reporters Tuesday night. If it's not a gun problem, why the fuck can't I own a belt-fed M60? Why can't I own a fucking Javelin missile? Why can I not own mortars? Why can I not own explosives? I don't understand. Obviously, as long as the culture is good, it's not a concern. Why can't I own fully automatic weapons? I don't get it. I want to get myself a compound. I want to put claymores all over it. I want to put landmines all over it. I want to build overlapping fields of fire. I want M60 pillboxes on my property. And that's my goddamn freedom. I want to have all my neighbors sighted in on a mortar. What's wrong with that? That's a right to bear arms. As long as I don't actually fire it, what's the harm? The same people who said that wearing masks in schools was unacceptable burden on children are now insisting that we turn schools into armed fortresses and make children walk through barbed wire and military checkpoints every single day, rather than do anything to keep guns out of the hands of murderers. Well, that would constrain the freedom of the murderers. You don't want children to think that they live in a free, safe society where we focus on their development. Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021, led by the House Majority Whip James Clyburn, the bill would close the so-called Charleston loophole, which allows some gun sales to proceed even without a background check if that screening is not completed within 3 days. The legislation is a direct response to the 2015 shooting at a historic black church in Charleston, South Carolina, where the gunman Dylan Roof would have failed a background check had a screener received notice that Roof had been arrested previously for drug possession. The bill passed the House in March 2021 in a 2019-2010 vote, mostly along party lines, with GOP reps Brian Fitzpatrick and Chris Smith voting in favor of the bill and Democratic reps Jared Golden and Ron Kind voting against it. The second major gun reform bill passed by the House and awaiting action in the Senate would significantly expand background checks for all gun sales and transfers. The National Instant Criminal Background Check System to screen out felons, illegal immigrants, spousal abusers, the severely mentally ill, or another category that would bar them from buying or owning weapons. But unlicensed gun sellers, like those frequently operating at gun shows or on the internet, are not required to conduct the same screenings. Now, you can't sell a gun on the internet through the mail unless you have to meet the person in real life to effectuate the transfer. So you could sell your gun online, I guess, but you would have to meet with the person in person. If you try to send the gun, you have to send it to an FFL, and then they would do a background check.
Reaction to the mass shooting that claimed the lives of 19 elementary school kids and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas, was to claim that gun legislation would have done nothing to save those kids. Nothing. Nothing. And when he was making this point, he did so by lying to the very people who follow him on Twitter. Let me explain. So he tweeted, the Texas shooter violated multiple gun laws.
The only gun law he violated is when he was actually engaged in shooting children. Up until that point, he was totally cool and following all the laws of Texas.
Suggestion that more gun laws would have prevented this act of unspeakable evil is unsupported, he says. And the implication that those who oppose such laws are somehow in favor of mass shootings is morally reprehensible. Well, let me be morally reprehensible and accuse people like you of that. Because rather than focusing on the actual solutions to prevent this from happening, you provide cover for the bad guys. Ben Shapiro always provides cover for the bad guys. You know, in my mind, Ben Shapiro is a classic conservative, right? The pre-Trump conservative in America, who I disagree with, but at least you can have a debate or a conversation with.
You're having your liberalism is showing again. Your liberalism is showing again.
But in the Trump era, he decided to provide cover for neo-Nazis. He decided to provide cover for the Republican Party after the Buffalo massacre that was inspired by the rhetoric that's spouted by mainstream Republican politicians about white replacement theory. Ben, stop providing cover for murderers in this country. And go ahead and call me morally reprehensible. I would argue what's definitely morally reprehensible, what's actually morally reprehensible, is providing cover for murderers on behalf of gun manufacturers. I think you're immoral. But he also lied because he said that the Texas shooter violated all sorts of gun laws. Did he, Ben? Did he? Where did you read about that? Because it turns out he didn't violate a single gun law. I mean, he's in Texas. What gun law? You can carry a gun without a permit in Texas. What gun law are you referring to? No, the gunman bought the weapons legally. He didn't break a single gun law. Not one. Not one. The gunman purchased 2 AR platform rifles in the week before the shooting, as well as 375 rounds of ammunition. One of the assault rifles was left in a truck that was found crashed near the elementary school, while the other rifle, referred to in the briefing as a Daniel defense, was found in the school with the gunman, along with at least 30 round magazines. He purchased 2 AR platform rifles at a local federal firearms licensee on May 17th, and also on May 20th. He also bought the ammunition, 375 rounds of ammunition on May 18th. So this month alone, he bought a ton of weaponry and ammunition to carry out the slaughter of 19 kids and 2 teachers. But people like Ben are, for the most part, shielded from this kind of stuff. I'm sure he can send his kids to private schools. He doesn't have to. Well,
that's the thing that's always weird. It's not like the private schools are that secure, right? Like, that's what always gets me. Here's what I don't understand about mass shooters is it's like, if somebody's gonna do a mass shooting, why do they go to some like random elementary school? Why are they shooting like random kids? Like random poor kids. So weird, man.
To worry about this as much as other parents do.
I mean, it's banal. Like, I don't even know the shooter's name, and I don't plan on learning it. It's like one of the. I mean, like it's just I just don't plan on learning it. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't even get you notoriety. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. I was talking ammo with Hubs last night. We were thinking some of the slugs just meant to destroy should be banned at least. They serve no hunting purposes to my knowledge, but there I am being rational. World where we get nothing anyway. I mean, they're not going to ban certain types of ammunition.
So as long as the check's clear, and as long as he can continue building his career off of providing cover for the worst people in this country, who cares? I'll even lie to my followers. Unbelievably disgusting. That's morally reprehensible. To say, no, we shouldn't do anything about guns because I'm gonna now lie to everyone who follows me by telling them that there were gun laws that were broken in this case I think that's morally reprehensible. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell me. The gunman was also sending photos of his weapons to random people on Instagram, telling them that he's got a secret days before the shooting. We also learned that the shooter sent private messages to a girl that he met online in Germany. So he told her name, she's going by Cece, I guess. He told her via private messages on Facebook, I'm gonna shoot my grandmother. He sent that message 30 minutes before he shot his grandmother in the face. The gunman, by the way, this is wrong. So this has been updated. He did not post it on his Facebook account. It was private messages, which is why I don't want to read that graphic. But what's been confirmed is that he sent the private messages to this girl 30 minutes before shooting his grandmother. He also told her, I'm gonna shoot up the school. And she didn't know if he was being serious. Look, I don't want to be too hard on this girl. I mean, I wish she would have reported it. She says that she wishes she would have reported it. But she didn't think he was serious. And it turns out he was very serious.
In other words, another incel. Another incel. Oh, did I say the forbidden word? Am I gonna get in trouble by Twitch? Oh no, did I say incel? It was easier for that guy to buy an two AR-15s and 350 rounds of ammo than it was for him to get laid. Your society is fucked when it's easier for men to buy multiple assault rifles and ammo than it is for him to get laid. My God, dude.
We have just this dangerous combination in this country where guns are everywhere, they're easily accessible, anyone can get their hands on them. You don't even have to go through a federal background check if you buy the guns in certain ways, whether it's through private dealers or a gun show. In Texas, you don't even need a permit to carry, blows my mind. And then on top of that, we have all these other crises. Yeah, we do have a mental health crisis. I mean, Republicans never really want to fund it or do anything about it. In fact, they actively...
We have a mental health crisis because we live in neoliberal late capitalism, where every single thing that gives life meaning is commodified, sold, and withheld from the vast majority of people. Do you have secure housing? Food? How are your social relations? We're all atomized. Everything is commodified and sold. You're a part of social media sites that are designed to hyper stimulate your brain so that you increase your engagement. This is what we didn't all spontaneously start getting anxiety and autism and all this other shit because of some change in the stars. It's capitalism, man. We've had psychotherapy kind of for 200, 300 fucking years, and everything's getting worse because objectively life is worse for most people. You can't afford a home. You can't afford college. You can't afford healthcare. You can't afford light living, transportation, yet you're producing more value than ever before. How does that work?
Blocked funding for mental health care multiple times.
What are you going to do? You're going to send me to let's give an example. What, you're going to send me to a psychiatrist and they're going to say, and I'm going to say, I'm feeling really depressed because I can't afford to pay my student loans. What are they supposed to say? Take a minute of mindfulness where you don't think about your crushing student loan? Like, what is their fucking plan here? I'm feeling really depressed because I want to move and I can't afford the rent. Take a day to reflect. Like, what the fuck there is no coping mechanism. Sometimes the external conditions of life are so fucking bullshit, you're gonna be depressed, rightfully. I know it's harsh, but like, how about we start fixing people's material conditions? How about we start building real human connection? My sister is a licensed psychologist in 2 states. The majority of problems people have would be solved by money. We know for a fact that money makes you happier. You want to know the solution to happiness, chat? Make more. I think a few years ago they said it was $80,000 a year. I'm sure it's probably like around 6 figures now. Make $100,000 a year and you are much more likely to be happy. That's the fucking secret. Up until 70K, the dollars are extremely efficient, but they continue to make you happier the more you get. It has what's known in the economics profession as a diminishing marginal utility. If you don't have $70,000 every year, then an additional dollar will do a lot to make you happier. But once you have a certain amount of money, those additional dollars have less and less value. That 70K figure is older than the internet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was changed to 80, but it's old. But over 70K, you aren't any more happy. That's wrong. You actually continue to get a little bit more happiness with more money. But it doesn't like go, your happiness doesn't go exponential. It kind of like smooths out. MDCDSA is working to do what you're advocating. We're laying the groundwork of foundation for galvanizing the people. That's right. Good job. I love that group. I don't understand people who say more regulation will make it harder for law-abiding citizens to get a gun like it's a bad thing. Why the fuck would you want more people to have easier access to something that can murder people as efficiently as possible? It should be incredibly hard to get that license. You should be able to lose it or become disqualified if you show any signs that you will not use it responsibly. I have a serious question for people that are guns rights freaks. Do you feel safe with the average highway driver? When you're on the road, are you like, yeah, that other driver, what an intelligent human being. So empathetic and smart and with good judgment. Why the fuck do you want that guy to have the ability to deal out death to 30 people in an instant? What is your brain?
More recent example was blocking social spending that was proposed by Democrats in the Build Back Better agenda. So we have a mental health crisis. We have a lot of people living in despair. And I don't think that it's a surprise that we have so many young men carrying out these crimes.
Yeah, no
I'm
shit.
not trying to be an apologist for them. I'm not providing any excuses for them.
I need to shill. Joe Garcia,
There is no excuse.
the husband of Irma Garcia, one of 2 teachers shot and killed in Uvalde, Texas on Tuesday, has reportedly suffered a fatal heart attack. Joe and Irma were high school sweethearts and married 24 years. They leave behind 4 children. Bro. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the stream, but holy fuck. How many tier 3 subs are there? Like 100. Usually between 80 and 100 a month. Holy shit.
Excuse. But when you live in a country that tells you over and over again, no one's looking out for you and there's really not much to live for, there's really not much to look forward to, again, pretty dangerous combination. And then you have that added layer of insane lunatics in the mainstream Republican Party calling for civil war, calling for violence. I mean, here, I got a perfect example for you right now. Let's go to Representative Randy Fine in the state of Florida. Okay, elected lawmaker in the state of Florida. Here's what he had to say. I have news for the embarrassment that claims to be our president, he says. Try to take our guns and you'll learn why the Second Amendment was written in the first place. You threatening the president with assassination? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly, thanks for the 3 times.
I mean, if Republican lawmakers and if conservatives want to tell me you can't just focus on gun legislation, it's got to be more comprehensive than that, I'm more than willing to have that conversation. But the problem is, whenever there's a mass shooting, they'll point to all the other scapegoats, right? So that they can deflect and not have to talk about doing anything that would hurt the gravy train that comes from these weapons manufacturers. They don't want to do a damn thing. They don't want to do anything about healthcare. They're not going to curb their disgusting violent rhetoric, and they're not going to do a damn thing about guns. So one side is kind of offering some solutions, very meek about it, very meek. Can we maybe do something about gun control, maybe? And then the other side is vicious. They don't want to do a damn thing. So mark my words, more children will be slaughtered in this country. Because again, America is not the land of liberty or freedom. America is the land of death and destruction, both within our borders and certainly outside our borders with the foreign policy that we champion. I'm embarrassed to be an American. I am. And I hate saying that because I want to feel pride. But how do you feel pride when you see this day in, day out?
You have an obligation to like, comment, and subscribe.